Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Let me darken something over there.
Okay,
I'll be right back, okay?
No rush. Good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. Today is another beautiful Monday. I'm excited. We have Fred Moskowitz in the house. Fred is an author and investment fund manager who is on a personal mission to teach people about the power of investing in alternative asset classes. That's all I'm going to say. But we are going to talk about Fred's book that just came out. Congratulations on the release, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fitness. We're going to talk about his journey. We're going to cover it all, as you know. So, Fred, without further ado, welcome to Turmeric and Tequila.
Thank you, Kristen. It's my pleasure. So excited to be on the show today.
Yes. Well, I know you do a lot of podcasts and speaking and everything. So I'm hoping today we can uncover obviously the book and all these like tips and tricks around investing, but also a little bit more alongside the journey maybe that you haven't shared on other shows. So why don't you give us a little background on you, like young Fred, like how we kind of got to where we are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, where to start? I had quite an interesting career, working professionally and then transitioning into entrepreneurship. And if it's okay, I have a little story I can share.
Absolutely.
That kind of walks through some of the pivotal moments that I went through, right? I feel like I've been through so much. I mean, we all have, right? So much in life. Life is such an interesting journey. And what I find is never quite works out the way you thought it would.
That's the absolute truth.
There's always surprises, right? Always some interesting surprises that come up. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. One day I found myself sitting on a chair. I was on the beach in northeastern Brazil, right? So if you can imagine that, Kristen, I was sitting there just feeling this hot sun blazing down on my skin. And I was sitting there spending the entire day playing my guitar. I was practicing bossa nova rhythms.
Nice.
And it was so calm, so relaxing and so peaceful. And what I remember most is that it was such a stark contrast from the environment that I had just been ejected out of. Because what had happened was I was coming down from the bursting of the dot-com bubble. And then that was immediately followed by the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center. So if you can recall back at that time, that was that 1-2 punch of events that just sent the worldwide economy into a downward spiral. And in particular, the tech industry, which is where I was working.
Okay.
I was a computer engineer. I had a very successful career working as a computer engineer, and I was working at a tech startup, and that was my thing, working at tech startups. But what had happened was that startup imploded, and I lost my job, and it was not due to my own fault. And it was a terrible. It's very emotional to go through that experience.
Sure.
And so what happened was that I was there. I realized all of a sudden that I had been spending all these years of my life building someone else's dream and not building my own. And I was so angry. I was so disappointed in myself because I let myself get into that situation. And it had happened multiple times throughout my career. And let me tell you something. the feeling of being disappointed with yourself, that can be the worst emotion in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that again. The feeling of being disappointed with yourself, it can be the worst emotion in the world. I mean, under any circumstances, it's very harsh, very strong. So what I did was I took that strong emotion and I utilized that to change the way I was living my life. And I came to the realization that I needed to have other sources of income so that I wouldn't be dependent on the paycheck from my job. Because in reality, I had been going through this over and over again. And it didn't matter, no matter how good of an engineer I was, how talented I was with my background and my skills, that if the company wasn't doing well, or if there was an economic downturn, I would lose my job. And I had no control over those circumstances. And I hated that. So what I decided was that I needed to have other sources of income so that I wouldn't be dependent on the paycheck for my job. And I took full responsibility for creating the life that I wanted.
Yeah.
So what I did was I came back to the US and I started looking for options. What can I do to generate income for myself? And so I turned to investing, but in particular, alternative investments, things like real estate and notes and mortgages. And I went head first into that. Now, I continued working as an engineer. I went back into the tech industry, was working again. I loved what I did, right? It wasn't that I hated my job. I loved the work. I loved the technology and the excitement, watching products get built and brought out to the marketplace. I loved that. But now what happened was I was also generating income for myself. It was a side hustle. I started investing in real estate. I bought an apartment building and all of these things. And uh, it generated income. And what happened, Kristen, was that one day, after doing this for a number of years, one day I came to the realization that the income from my investments was enough to cover all of my living expenses.
That's awesome.
And in that moment, I realized that now I was going to be working because I wanted to and not because I had to. And so that is a major mind shift when you come to that realization. And the approach you take to doing your work and the attitude you have, it completely changes.
Absolutely.
And it's so powerful.
Absolutely. That's quite the journey. I think there's some really deep early life skills I think that you had, like the personal responsibility, the accountability, all these things. And I know we touched on sports and fitness, but I want to parallel that a little bit. Were you a young athlete? Did some of these life skills come through sports as a kiddo?
No,
Okay.
actually, I was not. My interest in athletics came much later in life.
Okay.
I never did sports or anything in school. It's all later in life that I turned to that.
I think that's so great though, because as we get older, it's hard to try new things and it's hard to go out there and fail. When you're young, you just go on the playground and you learn, and then you learn how to make friends, and you learn if you like basketball or football or the tire swing or whatever. But as we get older, we get kind of set in our ways. And I think that parallels the financial situation where, you had this opportunity to question a better way and then take the leap and take that personal responsibility to make your own future more secure. In sports, it's kind of the same way, but it's hard to walk into a CrossFit class, when you're over 30 and you're not used to walking onto the playground anymore. but these are all
Yeah.
really good life skills that no matter if it's money or fitness or what have you, it's necessary to keep taking those steps forward and learning new things. Tell us, okay, so how did we get into, it's 2021. This is why I'm so excited about this conversation and your book, the little green book of note investing, because everybody wants an option to take hold of their finances and make their lives more secure. I mean, we've seen what's happened in 2020 and restaurants and things, and, the government shutting down and the government shutting things down. Like, we just want to be able to have our own financial situation under control. And I think this is such a phenomenal angle on how we can get in the mix. How did you get into investing specifically? Like, how did that start?
Well, that really came out of my real estate education. When I was starting out in investing, I joined my local real estate investing association in Philadelphia, in the city where I am, and so I started to get exposed to all of these different avenues of investing, and part of that was I learned a little bit about note investing, and it was a really abstract um, area. And let me just share a brief overview of what note investing actually is.
Please.
Yeah, note investing is all about investing your capital, your money into debt. And so you have debt, you own the debt, and you're the one receiving monthly payments plus interest on your investment, right? And if you think about this, Kristen, everyone, just about, right? Just about everyone is in the note business today.
Mhm.
Everyone is, right? And I'll say why. It's because if you are currently paying on a mortgage for your home or a car loan or student loans or even a credit card, you're in the note business. But it's just that you're the one making the monthly payments instead of the one receiving them. So what would it be like if you could step across the aisle and be the one receiving those monthly payments? So that's very, very much a reality. Individuals can own mortgages and do really well with it. And I love it as an investment for a couple of reasons. The first one is that your investment is backed by an asset with tangible value, backed by real estate. So there's collateral securing your interests. And if something goes wrong, you have something that's backing your investment, right? I mean, that's super powerful. Now, banks figured this out long ago, and the business of lending and debt has been around since biblical times. But banks figured out that they'd rather own the debt on properties instead of owning properties, and they do really well with that. Well, that can carry over to us as individual investors as well. It's really a powerful concept. And I've been in this business for over a decade now. And I had so many people asking me about how did you get started and how do you do this? Is this for real? Is this, it's unfathomable for an individual to get involved. And it's really not. And that's what inspired me to write a book and share about it, just so that people can get a better understanding of what this is. And that's why I decided to write the book. But it's all about, for anyone that is familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, very well known book. He even mentions about the concept of how you can own a mortgage and receive the payments. But it's all about owning assets, whether it's real estate, businesses, anything. You own assets that generate income for you. And then with that income, you can pay all of your expenses. Like, that is the 3-sentence summary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and his whole concept. And that was a very revolutionary book. If anyone in the audience is not familiar with that or hearing about this for the first time, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. It's one of those that comes up a lot. And I think it's simple enough to where literally anyone can read it and understand the moral of the story, and understand how to set yourself up for that freedom, but mostly just dial into the mindset and building your awareness and just questioning a better way and taking that step.
Yeah.
You know, and getting there. Do you do any specific mindful practices, meditation? I mean, if you're playing guitar on the beach, that's pretty awesome. But any other
Yeah.
sorts of things to keep things in balance?
I do. So music is a great love of mine. And I think that whether you play music, play an instrument, or you listen to music, especially if you go watch live music,
Yeah.
it's such a great and powerful stress relief.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Playing music is a great thing to relieve stress, or experiencing live music.
Yeah.
For many people, it's very powerful, I've found. So that's one of the practices. But other areas that are important to me, it's reading every day. Every day I read. I make a daily habit of it. And I try to read 30 minutes a day if I can. Doesn't always work out. Sometimes it might only be 10 minutes, other times
Yeah.
20, 30, but that's my goal. And I'm always reading business books. And this is something that anyone can do this, right? I always say, if you're starting out, you don't read currently, start out by reading 10 pages a day. Anyone can do that. It's so achievable, right?
Absolutely.
And if you do that consistently and you keep showing up doing that, then eventually you can expand more and more. But I always love reading books about business, books about mindset.
Yeah.
And I like to explore successful people and read about them and learn from their experiences. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Music is wonderful. I always think, I mean, it's a universal language, so anyone can assimilate. I think we're having some withdrawal in 2020 and 2021 because we can't get the live music like we once did. I'm so with
Yeah.
you on that. Like it's tough, but it is such a universal language, and just
Yeah.
allows you to relax.
I mean,
Um,
don't you live right near one of the most wonderful venues in the United States,
oh my
Red
gosh.
Rocks? That's a beautiful
Yes.
place. I
Yes.
went out there once and stood on the steps. It was during the middle of the day. There wasn't anything happening, but it just was
Okay.
such a beautiful setting
Oh, it's truly
to see
unbelievable.
live music. Yeah.
When it's back open again, if anyone that has never been there before, Google it so you can see what we're talking about, and then go see a show. I mean, I know bands or acts will come and work their schedule around getting into Red Rocks because it's such a big deal, and the right time of
It's
year. I
such a
mean,
treasure.
it is. The acoustics are pretty amazing. I mean, everything about it is awesome. So okay, and I asked about the mindset because now that once you do have more time to do what you want to do, you got to really dial in on what it is you
Yeah.
want to do, and then, like you said, your business then can go back to being your passion, and you can work with the mindset of I don't have to do this, I want to do this. And there's no stress, in my opinion, like financial stress when you're worried about how am I going to pay my bills, particularly if you've got kiddos and dependents that are counting on you to be successful. If you're just starting out, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we first, besides getting the book and reading it and diving in,
Yeah.
how much do you think somebody really needs to save or start with to make their first investment?
Well, you start small. It's like
Yeah.
anything else. Start small. If you're working, take advantage of the different options your employer offers to you. That they usually have a 401k, or if they don't, you can do your own.
Mhm.
Make it. Think about this, Kristen. How does our government, the federal treasury, make sure they collect all their income tax? The way they do it is they mandate that out of everyone's paycheck, taxes are withheld and sent out. So the IRS is not going to send you a bill at the end of the year saying, here's how much taxes you owe, send it to us. They take it out ahead of time before you have a chance to spend it.
Mhm.
And that way, um, the likelihood that taxes are collected in an efficient manner, it's happened. So you and I can do the same thing. Automate your savings. I use technology, right? There's all financial institutions, banks have a way for you to automate your savings. If you have direct deposit from your work, you can have it go into two accounts. You can say, I want to slice off this little chunk and send it to a separate account. And then it's automated. You don't think about it ever. It just happens.
Yeah.
And over time, you see that you start building up savings. So once you've built that up, then you can turn to some kind of an investment. I recommend for everyone, look into real estate as an investment. Real estate is the way that most wealth has been generated for generations.
Yeah.
And our government, the US government, really incentivizes people to invest in real estate and start businesses. And they do this. It's right in the tax code. You get such amazing tax benefits. So I always recommend to people, learn about real estate. Maybe you set up a rental house for yourself, or depends on how much time, how involved you want to be.
Yeah.
But there's all manner of strategies that you can use. But for the average individual that owns rental property, you get amazing tax benefits. And if you're working at a job where you have W-2 income, then those tax benefits offset your tax load from your job, from your income tax, which is super powerful. Yeah. So I always encourage everyone, look into that, talk to your CPA, to your tax professional, and see how that could fit into your lifestyle. It's something that it can be very powerful, right? Absolutely. And there's all these strategies. Like I tell people, if you were to do something like to buy you're going to buy your first house, right, for yourself. Well, what if instead of doing that, you bought a 3 or 4 unit apartment building, moved into one of the apartments, rent out the other 3, and now you have this income coming in, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to live there forever, but if you're young and just starting out, you're probably going to be renting an apartment anyway. So it may as well be your own.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And again, the mindset, I think it's huge to get into it early. I actually, after college, I started a little lacrosse business, and then I got my real estate license with the intention of flipping houses and getting into it because, just like you said, land is a finite resource. It's a super secure thing to invest in and own, and it does provide for generational wealth, which is a whole other podcast. But these are really important, not simple, but pretty easy moves you can make to really set yourself up. I'm actually getting back into it. I wish I would have, the lacrosse business just kind of went crazy, which was good, but then the real estate situation filtered away. So I'm getting back into it, but I wish I would have invested in more properties. I went to an auction once and even bid on some houses. Like, we were in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then I just got out of it, and it's a commitment. Like, you really need to know what you're doing and know the property and have good inspectors, and you need to know what's up.
You do. But, and it may not be for everyone to do this, right? However, there's still other ways you can partner up with someone. If you have someone else that you have a relationship with, you can partner with them where they have those relationships and those connections, and they do the work, and you contribute the capital, and then you can still benefit from that. And that's
absolutely,
that's a really great way, because owning property, it's not for everyone, right? You do have to be a little hands-on with it, and it does take work. But I'll tell you what, there are plenty of people that they want to own real estate but not be hands-on with it, and they just partner up with someone else that enables that to happen. So it can be powerful. And I also love that you started a business around lacrosse, and I'd love to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I was from Denver, Colorado, or Aurora, really, and lacrosse was my sport, and there was just no competitive lacrosse, and I really wanted to go top 20 D1, and this was my young, naive self, not really fully realizing how more intense the East Coast lacrosse was, but I ended up walking on to George Mason University, played for 5 years. I tore my ACL my sophomore year, so I had a medical red shirt. And it was
Wow.
quite the journey. I eventually was, I think I was a 3-time captain, but incredible experience. And then when I came back, the East Coast weather, I had my 5 years and I was like, all right, we're going back to Colorado. The weather's amazing. And I have tons of friends from Philadelphia. So came back and just started Colorado Rising Stars Lacrosse. And that's where we really started to learn about creative strategy and strategic partnerships. I love that you just said, get partners, get in people that know around you, that know what's going on. You said you joined the real estate, was it commission or something that was local?
No, the real estate investment group. Yeah.
Okay.
They're all around the country. Your local, they're called R.E.A, Real Estate Investment Association.
Oh, yes.
They exist all across the country.
Yeah. So that stuff like that, I mean, the partnership and working together are huge, but that's when I did my lacrosse business. That's how I learned sponsorships and, again, creative partnerships where we would, bring certain products and things into schools where they couldn't get. And it was good exposure for them. So we just learned all this strategy. And I certainly learned as a young entrepreneur, oh my gosh, everything, even if you go to school, you learn a little bit, but you don't really learn until you're in it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a journey for sure.
I always, you know what, this goes back to what I said earlier. Our government incentivizes two things in a major way. It's owning rental real estate and starting a small business.
Yeah.
And they offer amazing tax benefits to those that do that. And few people do it, but those that do, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, Kristen, everyone, like, figure out a way to have a business, a side hustle, no matter what you do. If you have a hobby, figure out a way to make it into a business.
Yeah.
A business that generates income for you, a business that lets you take advantage of tax deductions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you love, you're passionate about. Look at what you were doing. You're playing a sport or involved in a sport that you loved, and you're helping children. Like, what kind of an impact is being made on the children that were participating in your programs, right?
Yeah.
Both from an athletic perspective, as well as learning skills, life skills, learning how to be on a team, being responsible and self-accountable.
Commitment, all kinds of
commitment,
amazing things. Well, tell us, I love how you really champion the side hustle. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's critical having an LLC and just simple things like that. Like, if you really look at the rich, you see how much they play the game and, establish their business in certain places that, there's no income tax, or like there's all these strategic plays. And if you see what wealthy people are doing, you notice they I don't want to say work the system, but they know what to do. So it sets them up for financial success for the long term.
Absolutely. It's not any kind of mischievous type of thing that's going on. This is in the tax code. It's there. Yeah. It's there. So take advantage of it. Right? No one in this country has an obligation to pay more taxes than they're required to do so.
Absolutely.
So take advantage of the benefits and the deductions and structure your affairs in a way that you're able to do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It does get a lot of negative light, but that's because people don't do these things, and others feel like, oh, you're taking advantage of the system. No, absolutely not. It's right there in the tax code.
Yeah. Right.
So you align yourself with a good team, good tax advisors, CPAs, and they will guide you and help you through this, because it's very complex, complex.
Yeah.
But the benefits can be so powerful. And the end result that you will see is that you start to get dropped into a lower tax bracket each year, which is very powerful, because if you can realize tax savings, like by 10%, less taxes, 10% lower taxes you paid, that's money in your pocket every year. And now you can invest with that money. That's more money you have to invest in yourself, invest in things that will generate income for you. So that's something that things that anyone can do. I don't care what your hobby is, whether it's sports, whether it's beekeeping or
Music.
podcasting,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Whatever you love, figure out a way to make it into a business, small business, and now you have your side hustle.
I love it. What was your first initial side hustle?
Oh, wow. My first
Yeah.
was when I was 12, I was selling candy at school.
Okay. So the
And I
young
made,
entrepreneur was always within.
oh, yeah. And I made a lot of money.
I believe it.
For someone that was 12 years old, to
it.
have a couple $100s in cash in a
Okay.
shoebox, I thought
Yes.
that was the greatest thing. But what happened was I kept getting in trouble at school for doing this. And so
Okay.
finally, the principal and my parents, they said, look, we support what you're doing, but it's causing a lot of problems. You can't keep doing this. But that was my first taste. And then I
Wow.
loved like having my own little business. I thought it was the greatest thing.
For sure. Was this in your blood? Like, were your parents entrepreneurs? Like, did you have
No,
an example of this?
no, they weren't. And unfortunately, my parents were of this mindset: go to school, get good grades, and then get a safe job.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out very quickly that old story is no longer relevant in today's
Right.
world.
Right.
I found out the hard way.
Right.
And so I turned the direction I was headed.
I love that. What do they think now?
Oh, you know what? My mom, she used to worry so much about me.
Yeah.
She says, you left your job. What are you going to do? And I let her kind of vent, but I
Okay.
wasn't going to listen to her.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I wasn't going to let her influence me because I knew what I was doing and I could see the results of it. Because for many years I was working, but earning income from my real estate, from the notes I owned.
Mm-hmm.
So I was headed full steam ahead down that path.
Yeah.
And it is a little scary, like when you stop working and you're an entrepreneur relying on yourself. You have a
Mm-hmm.
family that's dependent on you, so
Yeah.
it's a little daunting. But you persevere. You surround yourself with the right people. You take advice from people that are successful, and that's what makes all the difference. It's who you
Absolutely.
surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
since you mentioned CrossFit earlier, I want to segue into that
Let's do it. Well, you
because
just said surround yourself around good people, and that's a
yes,
breeding ground for great humans, for sure.
exactly. It is. It totally is. I was never an athletic person growing up. I didn't play sports or anything like that. Well, I decided I wanted to get in better shape, improve my health. And so I went into a CrossFit gym. It was about 6 years ago,
Okay.
and it was intimidating.
Yeah, CrossFit's tough to walk into. Even I came in as an athlete and I started on 5 pull-up bands and I was coming off of a Division I sport. So
Yeah,
yes, it'll humble you very quickly.
very quickly. And they made a little mini workout for me like the first day that I was there. It was like an orientation class. It wasn't even the regular class. And it was like a 6-minute sequence to work through. And at the end of that, I was thinking, oh my, what did I get myself into? This is intense. But I stuck with it because I saw other people,
Yeah.
and the results they had. I said, wow, this is really cool. And I saw very quickly that you could adapt it to your own level, no matter where you were, whether you were young or old. Right. So
Yeah.
here I am, I'm in my 40s starting this amazing journey into CrossFit, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the best part about it was I was working out right alongside amazing athletes,
Mm-hmm.
amazing athletes.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people are competitive, but it's not an environment where people are there showing off. Everyone's there to to get in a good workout. And that's what it was all about for me.
Mhm.
I'm sitting all day in front of the computer in this chair working. So at the end of the day, I just shut down my work and I go to the train at the gym, and
Yeah.
it's a great stress relief. It gets me moving. It gets me feeling good. I work up a sweat. I don't care how much weight I can lift or anything like that. I just go and get good exercise and I feel good. And
Yeah.
let me tell you something, for entrepreneurs and business owners, you need lots of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need lots of energy so that you can get out there and crush it every day. It's
Absolutely.
so important,
Well, those
right?
habits, yeah, they I mean, how you are on the field is how you are off the field. So you have to really get it together. And if CrossFit's your outlet, or maybe it's cycling or music or what have you, then you have like-minded people around you, and it's your friends. And more likely than not, that if they're showing up to train hard, they're probably working really hard, or they do something. So it's usually, I've done
Yeah.
tons of business deals unintentionally with CrossFitters, and I've worked with Reebok CrossFit because of Lacrosse, the guy that runs it
Oh,
now
wow.
at Reebok. We his wife went to James Madison. I went to George Mason. So we knew each other. So anyways, the connects through these types of situations of like-minded humans are amazing. And you want to have financial wealth. You want to have your actual, you want to have health and wealth and health as well, meaning like take care of yourself and getting your mind and your body right. So, and
Yeah,
being around good people, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Absolutely.
it is. And so you're around people that are striving to do better.
Mhm.
They want to improve themselves. And you see this in CrossFit, you see this in triathlon training
Mhm.
and marathon training, those groups that people join to
Yeah.
train for one of those big races. Who do you think is going to be there? What kind of mindsets do people have, those that are training to prepare for a triathlon? You're going to be around people that are striving for success.
Yeah.
And the training is part of the journey, but that's who you're surrounding yourself with,
Mhm.
right? It all comes down to one of my favorite quotes from Jim Rohn, the grandfather of personal development. He said that you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Absolutely.
And that's so true. It comes down to that in
Mhm.
life, in investing circles, or business, being around other successful business owners,
Yeah.
being around athletes, right?
Yeah.
All of
Absolutely.
that, it
Yeah.
carries over. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's so important. I mean, everyone has seen this, where when you're young children, your parents always are concerned about who your friends are, who you're hanging around with. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
If
It's
you're if
huge.
you're with other kids that are getting into trouble, you're probably going to steer down that path as well,
It's
right?
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you get older, yeah, it magnifies. And then you get, great information. Maybe like you're working out alongside somebody and they happen to mention investing, and you're like, oh, well, what questions do you have? And then you can have that conversation. I mean, there's that equal base, whether it's fitness or music or what have you, that kind of brings people together. And then it allows
Yeah.
you to be around the like-minded people that, they give you a competitive edge as well. So you kind of keep everybody, keeps that competitive, thriving mindset regardless of what the actual topic is. You mentioned earlier just now about, giving back and providing this opportunity for other people and helping them question a better way. What have you gotten feedback around the book or any of the work thus far that had just been like really soul fueling stories for you, or you felt purposeful because of this message that you're sharing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I actually run an investment fund, and I speak with investors all the time. But someone I was speaking with, that he was telling me about his father. His father came to the U.S. as an immigrant, was working on the trading floor, the New York Stock Exchange, and so the investor I was speaking with, his name's Ken. He grew up watching his father work so hard to provide for their family, and work long, hard hours, So you can imagine working on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange is intense, intense work, very high stress. And what happened was Ken was seeing his father now in retirement many years later, and he was struggling financially. And even though he had saved money, he had done all the right things. He was saving money as a retirement plan and all of those things. He was really just sticking with the conventional type of investing. And his father was struggling financially. And so Ken came to me telling me this story, and it was a little heartbreaking. I said, yeah, that's why alternative investments are so important. And that's why I have this mission of teaching people about the power of alternative investments. And Ken told me, yeah, I'm exactly with you. I've already started. I've bought a couple of investment properties, right? I don't want to manage them. So I have a property manager taking care of that for me. And they're doing really well. And he was looking to learn all about different alternative investments. He came to me asking about investing in notes and how that worked. And I shared with him, I said, yeah, I wrote this book because of the number of people that kept asking me about the business and about how that works, how individuals can get into note investing. And so that really started a very long-term relationship for us, and a powerful one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hear stories like that all the time.
That's
People
awesome.
that have made financial mistakes in the past. And what I tell folks is you have to remember, you hear about diversity and the importance of diversity when you're investing. Well, remember that diversity in investing is not diversification between the half dozen options that are available in your 401k plan at work, right? Diversity means you have your stocks and mutual funds, sure, but then you also have some rental real estate. Maybe you have some notes. Maybe you have investment in some businesses, like private businesses. There's all kind of options available. It's just a matter that you have to go out and pursue those. And the majority of all of these opportunities come through personal relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's super important. It's about getting around the right people, getting around other investors where you find out that, oh, there is a group of very sophisticated investors that are putting together a big apartment deal, and they're going to go out and raise capital from 100 investors, and you might be able to participate in that. Those are all done through word of mouth, but you see these big apartment complexes in your community, Kristen, it's guaranteed that it's owned by a consortium of investors that joined together to pool up their capital, and they bought that property.
Yeah.
And it's professionally run, professionally operated, and the investors receive a monthly income from that, and they don't have to do any of the work. That's super powerful.
Yeah.
So there's all these different ways, all these different strategies, right? Note investing is just one piece of the overall picture, right? But if you have a holistic approach where you're getting into different strategies, and ideally they're uncorrelated from each other, so that when there's swings in the markets, you're still generating income, right? If the stock market has a massive downturn and you have real estate in your portfolio, you're still going to get paid every month.
Yeah.
While
And
the
that's
stocks,
that's more relevant than ever. I mean, we just saw it in 2020. Like, you got to be able to have, like you just said, diversified options, because we don't know what's next. Like, I think we're on the upswing now, I hope.
Everything goes through market cycles.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
when one asset class is in a the downward part of the cycle. Another one that you own might be in the upward part, and that gives you balance overall. It's super important. It's just like how I found myself really in a bad situation because I was relying on the paycheck for my job, and how I put myself in jeopardy by doing that.
Right.
So you really diversify by having other income sources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Control of your life. I'm totally with you. Well, now that you've done all these great things, and I want to be sensitive to your time, so we'll wrap up. But what are you looking forward to? What's next? Like, the book's out now. You've got your investments down, and like, what's exciting to Fred coming in 2021?
Wow, what's exciting? There's so much opportunity out there. Continuing to do so much networking and building relationships. I think that it's so important, no matter what you do, is building quality relationships with people. I love the podcasting medium.
Right?
I love what you're doing. This is so powerful, and I get to have amazing conversations with wonderful people like yourself all the time. It's so powerful, and
it is.
You get to experience so many different points of view, people that are doing amazing things. I think that it's wonderful that you have this program, because podcasting is in its infancy, and it's exploding right now.
Yeah.
That's just going to continue. And it allows people to really niche in to the content that they like, that's relevant for them, and listen to that, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Kristen, a number of years ago, I put myself on a media diet because of all the negativity I found all around me. I used to love listening to talk radio and all this stuff. Eventually, I realized, first of all, that there was so much negativity there. It was really having an impact on my mindset and how I felt, which was not good at all. And then there was just so much advertising driven things with the programming. That I decided, you know what? I don't need this anymore. So I cut it all. I cut it all out. I stopped listening to talk radio. What did I replace that with? I started listening to audiobooks, podcasts, CD programs from people like Jim Rohn and sales trainers, all things that were going to help me in my business. Programs about negotiating, programs about sales training and marketing, because I was an engineer, right? Remember that. I never learned anything about sales. I never had to do that in any of my jobs. I was the tech guy. I was the engineer. So this is all new to me. And so that's how I learned. I turned my car into a university on wheels. And that's what I did. And then great podcasts, all kinds of podcasts about mindset, about investing, and interviews with amazing people like what Tim Ferriss does. I love his show because he just interviews the best top performers in acting in Hollywood, in sports, in business, all these different areas. And so you get exposed to different viewpoints and learning from the best. And I really like your show as well, Kristen. I went back and listened. I listened to some interviews that you've done, and lots of great stories, right? You have so many interesting stories to tell. It's wonderful. You have such a unique background, and the things that you've done, those are all things I talk about. It's starting your side hustle, starting business, and making a business out of something you love and you're passionate about. That's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, it's been a journey. And the whole reason I started Turmeric and Tequila was because I hail from that marketing and branding space. And I saw how our young people were consuming incredible amounts of media. And that was, I always argue that reality is nothing more than applied meaning, like OG philosophy. So if this is what our kiddos are digesting every day on a high level, we are essentially the gatekeepers to their reality, what they think is true. And being in the business, I was like, oh, there's so much of this is a lie. It's filtered out. And, there's great people out there, but they don't necessarily want to be on the mic. So I literally started the show to start showcasing my varsity humans like yourself to come on and say, and tell their story. So if our kiddos are going to consume media or whatever it is, they can at least have some incredible examples of people that have questioned a better way and had wanted to and have done things differently and had been successful at it. So I champion the media diet. I think that's phenomenal. And diversifying the humans you're around for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I always encourage people, turn the news off.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the last 6 months of 2020, the news, it was all so much
brutal
negativity, right? The pandemic, the election, the riots, this and that. And all of these things. And you know what? It's better to just focus on the things you can control.
Exactly.
Because what can you control? You can control how you feel and what you focus on, right? What's happening in the news, that's not going to matter in your own life, in your individual life and what you're doing on. Like, stay focused on your own goals and objectives and your family and the people that you love that are around you. That's what's important. They're the ones that are going to be there and show up for you when you need it. So focus on that instead. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So important.
100%. We really got to worry about what we control, and obviously our finances being a major piece of that. But these are all tons of phenomenal golden nuggets, and all of these pieces, it's about finance and investing, and then taking care of yourself and being around good people. Like, all of it plays a role into our overall happiness. So these are really important key pieces, and the machine doesn't work without all the things working together. So we got to dial in on all levels. But Fred, I appreciate you. Where do we find you? Hit us with some handles, websites. I know you got a phone number, a text thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of ways. I love connecting with other people that are interested in investing. And so please reach out and connect with me. You can visit my website. It's fredmoskowitz.com. Or for an easier spelling, go to the website giftfromfred.com. And if you sign up at my website, I will send out a free special report about note investing. That's the business I'm in. I'll send that out to all of your listeners. I'll offer that.
Amazing.
It's giftfromfred.com. Now, if you're on a mobile device, you rather text to me, you can text the word note, NOTE, to 47177 and just follow the prompts and connect with me there. And my book is called The Little Green Book of Note Investing. It's available on Amazon, or there's a link to it from my website as well, but you can find it on Amazon. And it's a great resource for anyone that's interested in learning about what is one of the most powerful asset classes that you can participate in.
I love it. Again, I'm in order because investing's been huge on my mind. I feel like I'm even late to the game, but so I'll be pinging you, and we'll have conversations down the road, and I'll get my investment situation dialed in for sure.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's super important.
Yeah.
These are things you don't learn in school. They're not taught in school, and it's out there. It's available to us. You just have to take some initiative to learn and surround yourself with the right people that you can do very well, very well.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Check Fred out. He's got tons of good stuff going on. I love your mindset of giving back and providing opportunity for people to question a better way in their own lives. The mindset, I love the whole outlook and the energy. So I always love when people like you come into my world, because then I feel like I'm doing something right. We're attracting like energy. So it's always a good thing and affirmation from my end.
It is. The relationships you build are so important.
Yes.
Right. So important. In closing, I want to leave you this thought, right? Think about this. You could lose everything you have, all your material possessions, all your money, your material possessions. And if you had to start out all over again in life, you have no money, but the relationships that you took the time to build, that's what you have. No one can ever take that away from you. Yeah. And those are the people that are going to help you to rebuild. Mm-hmm. So the relationships, it's super important. Nurture them, build them, and be there for others, show up for other people. They will be ready to show up for you when you need it. And that's what's going to carry you forward in your life.
So well said. The kindness is queen or king, either one. But you're right. How you treat people is everything. And that's the goal of life right there. Every single day. Well, Fred, I appreciate you. Let's definitely catch up soon. Keep crushing. I'm going to check out the book, but I'm seeing the sales and the posts and everything. So I'm super happy with all of its success. For sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful project for me working on that book, and so glad to finally seeing it come out and be available for everyone to benefit from that. Yeah.
Heck yeah. We need
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Yes, absolutely. Let's definitely catch up soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Fred, I'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.